Hello, everyone. This is yet another week of instructional design. I can't believe we are in Module 5. Well, in this module, I am going to talk about technology or media for teaching and learning. So, this is going to be the overview or the content of today's presentation. I start off, of course, like I always do, with an introduction. And in the introduction, I am going to explain technology affordance, which happens to be the framework that guides this whole presentation. And then I'll talk about pedagogical differences and going to analyze three or selected media or technology programs, and we'll analyze it through the lens of learning theory, technology affordance, and instructional benefits. I would dive a little bit deeper into the sections framework, which was propounded or coined by Bates 2015, and then how this application can play out or framework can play out in selecting media or tech programs. And then I conclude with some key takeaways, and then of course references or resources if you want to know the kind of ideas or where I'm pulling my ideas from. Yep. What is affordance? It happens to be a word in the dictionary, but in some decades ago, the word affordance was non-existent, was rather afford. So, what is affordance in general? According to Gaber, it implies that the physical attributes of the thing to be acted upon are compatible with those of the actor, that information about those attributes is available in a form compatible with a perceptual system, and implicitly that these attributes and the action they make possible are relevant to a culture and a perceiver. So when we apply this concept of affordance to module 5, we will then ask ourselves, what is technology affordance? Because we happen to use different media or technology, but we've taken it for granted. We haven't really asked ourselves, what do they afford? So technology affordance are the action possibilities a technology provides to a user, what the tool allows or invites people to do in a learning setting. And this explains why different tools teach differently. If different tools teach differently, then what are the pedagogical differences between media? According to Bates 2015, I keep saying 2025, he provides three-part lens for choosing media, right? And pedagogical differences across media come from their affordance, as I indicated in the previous slide, what a medium enables learners and teachers to do. That is why Bates argued that media have different pedagogical characteristics and should be chosen based on what the learning you are trying to support. The first one is content. How do you choose a media? And it is self-explanatory. Content happens to be the knowledge learners are expected to engage with. You know that different media comes with different ways of presenting the content. It can be in a form of symbols, it can be in a form of animations, and Bates happens to provide an analogy or an example of how different representation of content can lead to different understanding. So for example, let's talk about temperature or heat. So heat can be derived from touch. So I can touch somebody and be like, why are you so hot? Right? That is a different understanding. Or I can represent this feeling by mathematical symbols, such as 800 Celsius, or by words, that is movement of particles, and then, like I said, animations. So as you can see, different symbols happen to teach differently or encode different understanding based on how they are represented. So content here can be concrete knowledge, abstract knowledge, or symbolic representation. When we come to content structure, so this is about the way the medium organizes the learning experience in general, right? So it can be organized linearly or sequentially. In other ways, it can organize content using branching or internal logic. And then lastly, skills. And this happened to tie to what we did in Bloom's taxonomy by Berthal. So skill here simply means what learners must be able to do with the knowledge they have gained from the prior content, right? So this is where we test for comprehension, application, analysis, evaluation, and problem solving. So this is where we know, is the student able to use, how are they able to use the knowledge they have gained? So haven't talked about the three-part lens of how to choose media. Let's say I have chosen this learning management system, that is Moodle. Of course, that is what we use here in LSU. So I would like to talk about it a little bit. And remember, we talked about pedagogical differences and technology affordance. So on what basis is Moodle, or on what framework is Moodle based on or built on? And I can explain this based on learning theory, technological affordances, and then instructional benefits. So Moodle can either be objectivist or constructivist in nature. So when I say it's objectivist, here a teacher can decide to upload documents, right? And this is where students learn at their own pace, right? So it's rather the instructor trying to put things on students, right? And this is where Bates also emphasized that Moodle or any learning management systems can be used in more constructivist ways, depending on how the instructor design activities. So whether the instructor wants students to engage in discussions or write portfolios or projects. And as we have learned in some weeks back, that in constructivism, this is where we want students to construct their own knowledge. And as you can see, Moodle affords a structured home base. So when I say that, it means that it becomes a conduit or home for resources, guidelines, procedures, deadline, and module organization, like you are doing in this course, instructional design. And it also affords synchronous discussion spaces. Once I post my video on Moodle, my peers have the opportunity to watch the video and, you know, give feedback or any comments. Of course, this happens when we all are not there at the same time, because we all go there whenever we have time. So it's not synchronous. And then anytime, anywhere access to course content. So it's self-explanatory. Once you have an internet, you can access it anytime. And then it is flexible. So Dr. Kian, through her leadership and being the instructor of the course, she happens to upload certain documents to us, which are not actually linked to Moodle. It's just third-party website or places where we can go and watch in order to solidify our understanding. So that is how learning management systems are. And lastly, instructional benefits. So they provide coherence and organization for online teaching, and they are better than just uploading lectures. So it happens to be a very structured place. So it's not just about that. There is more to that. And then it's adaptable to different requirements. Yeah. So the next one is IXL. So IXL is also a digital platform for assessment. It is based on my reading of the text. I would say IXL can behave in the behaviorist perspective or cognitivism perspective. When I say behaviorism perspective, I mean that, students go there or on there and then they start practicing, right? Repeated practice. And that is what behaviorism is about. And cognitivism, this is where IXL supports to target, misconceptions. So if students have misconceptions, there is a section in IXL where it can give students strategy prompts, by explaining why they did some steps or methods wrongly. All right, and technology affordance. So it affords adaptive practice and personalized pathways. So every student are in the comfort of their homes and they tend to use it at their own pace, and it is adaptable to the student's strength. It has an immediate feedback component in it. So whenever you get a question wrong or a problem wrong, IXL is there to support you, in understanding why you got it wrong and then why you got it right. It has analytics and reporting component as well. So this is where it makes students' performance visible, so that teacher can decide what to reteach or extend. And lastly, scalable independent practice. It's just like what I explained in the first one, adaptive practice. So students practice in their own pace. Instructional benefits. Of course, it's efficient formative assessment tool, and it supports differentiation. It also supports progress monitoring, and as well supports fluency and confidence. YouTube, our very dear YouTube. So YouTube is the way I make sense of the text is that it can be grounded in cognitivism or social learning. So, YouTube is very strong for explanations, worked examples, and demonstrations. And this can really help build student mental models. When I say it's also grounded in social learning, this is where a student will be seated, will be glued to his or her chair, and then will be watching by observing an expert teach a particular topic or whatever they like to also learn. So it's something like observational learning. And technology affordances. So it is multimodal presentation, so in YouTube, it combines different modes of presentation. It combines text, videos, audios, overlays, and animations. And then learner control of pacing. If I don't understand a certain part that was explained, I can rewind it because it has a feature and it's an affordance to the learner. So the student can rewind it, or, okay, I am okay with this part, so they can forward it. And then the last one is wide access and searchability. So it has a very large or massive repertoire of resources that explain the same concepts that a teacher or a student wants to understand. And instructional benefits. So it's great for demonstrating and modeling, and as well supports flip learning and differentiation. The next part is the sections framework. What is sections framework? It happens to be an abbreviation of students, ease of use, cost, teaching functions, interaction, organizational issues, networking, security, and privacy. According to the author of the book, the sections framework is a practical model for selecting media or technology that gives equal attention to educational and operational issues, and helps you choose an appropriate mix of a given context. So this is a part that you would want to focus on: mix. There is no one size fits all approach. In order for you to maximize student learning, there's the need to blend different technology tools or media. And so these are the components of sections, as I explained earlier. So the first one is students. You ask yourself, who are my learners and what do they need? Right? Ease of use is where how intuitively easy or reliable and maintainable is the tool for both the teacher and students. And cost or time. Is there any money involved? And is that particular technology going to cost you time in using it? And teaching functions. So what does the medium uniquely support in teaching and learning? And then interaction, you ask yourself, what kind of interaction does it support? And then organizational issues is where you ask yourself, does the organization support it, or it does not support it? And networking is where you ask yourself how important it is for learners to connect beyond the course. And then lastly, security and privacy. What are the privacy and data risks involved? And this is going to be the part where I apply the sections framework in a K-12 mathematics class. So the dilemma here is, how am I going to choose the best tools for my algebra unit? So in K-12, my students vary widely in prior knowledge because of individual differences. So I would use sections framework or Moodle to choose tools that match my learners' needs and instructional goals. So for solving linear equations, YouTube can be easier and low cost because you don't have to subscribe to by paying huge sums of money. It's good, while IXL support differentiated practice with immediate feedback and progress. And then Moodle will happen to be the repertoire or the hub for organizing modules, collecting students' work, and applying rubrics. So as you can see, these three media or technology tools have different technology affordances. I may not be able to use YouTube alone to maximize my students' understanding of a concept. So there is a need to blend these three in order to maximize students' understanding. And these are the key takeaways. So media are not neutral. Like I explained, each medium has distinct pedagogical strength and limits. Technologies differ because they offer different action possibilities. Third, the best tool is the one whose affordances match your intended outcomes, right? And lastly, because no single medium support all goes equally well, effective instruction often combines tools. And these are my references. And thank you. In case you have any comments, any feedback that I may improve on the next presentation, please feel free and provide or leave your comments. Thank you.